I'm Jamal, and I'm 16. Most people look at me as a good person. My head is in the right direction. I think people get involved in crimes and violence in their neighborhoods because what they're used to seeing. I feel as though the place that I'm growing up in doesn't determine my destiny.
My name is Christine Ellis. I'm 16. I go to Josie Mess Farm and I live in West Philly. I've seen more violence, drug use, more kids being pushed out of school. I believe they get involved in crime or violence because they don't have nobody there to kind of motivate them to do something better with their time, or they feel as though nobody cares.
My name is Edit1. I'm 17 years old.
I'm from this neighborhood. Yes, I live in the Promise Zone. They closing schools down, opening up prisons, but they don't expect us black people or young youth black people to become anything with their lives.
My name is Manaya. I go to Inhumane Academy and I'm 18 years old. I think most young people don't take advantage of the things that they have, but I think it's others that will strive and do what they gotta do. Where you come from is not gonna determine how you come out in life. Don't matter where you're from, you can always be successful.
I know that the Promise Zone is to focus on the struggling community, to provide opportunities for the less fortunate. I would want to know whether it will change this neighborhood or not.
I just want to know what people think, their opinions, if they're willing to get the word on the street to make a change.
I would like to know more about the Promise Zone.
In neighborhoods of concentrated poverty, individuals are often less healthy and less educated and have higher levels of stress and fewer career opportunities. Not to mention, these neighborhoods unfortunately also generally have higher crime rates than other areas of Philadelphia. And it should and it must deeply offend our sense of what America and Philadelphia stands for, that the zip code in which a child is born or grows up is more than likely the single greatest indicator of their future life outcomes, rather than their intellect, their talent, their work ethic, or their ability to make things happen. In January of 2014, just a year after signing the executive order, several neighborhoods in Philadelphia were designated as a Promise Zone through the White House Promise Zone Initiative, announced in person by President Barack Obama. Philadelphia is one of 5 Promise Zones in America.
The Promise Zone is probably very misunderstood. Many people think it's a grant program and there's a lot of money involved in it, but quite frankly, the Promise Zone is really a federal designation for neighborhoods to access resources specifically around economic development, new business and jobs for community residents. The Promise Zone communities, which include Mantua, Belmont, West Powelton, and Mill Creek neighborhoods primarily, are all facing vacancy issues, vacant homes, large parcels of vacant land, low education attainment. So there's a lot of the population that has either dropped out of high school or not continued their education beyond high school. And so what that really means for many residents is that they are working at jobs that don't provide living wages. There's a lot of pressure in the Promise Zone neighborhoods around affordable rental. Many of the new developments are being built or homes renovated for university students. And those students typically have the ability to pay higher rents, which threatens the affordability of the neighborhoods, particularly Mantua and Powelton neighborhoods.
This housing complex, it's called the Mount Vernon Manor. It is part of the Promise Zone, and actually the Promise Zone designation that West Philadelphia has is a direct result of our work here in the community of Mantua. The We Are Mantua planning effort, which was a planning grant that was given to the Mount Vernon Manor to create a comprehensive plan for the community of Mantua. It was a 2-year engagement, and as a result of that, the federal government extended an opportunity to the community of Mantua or West Philadelphia to receive this Promise Zone designation. Well, you know, I love Mantua. I grew up in this community, and I sold newspapers, I played sports, I learned a lot of lessons here. But most of all, the most important thing that I learned in this community was it does not matter what you have or don't have, that family, integrity are the most important values that you could have. I grew up and there was an organization called Young Great Society. And so for me, it was an alternative to the drugs and gang life. But I was encouraged because of community leaders like Mr. Andy Jenkins and Mr. Herman Rice, that they really took the time and poured into youth in the community. And so it wasn't a factor of what you had. It didn't matter whether you had money, it didn't matter whether you knew someone, it just was you lived in this community and we want to expose all the children or young people to the best that life can be for them. And so when the opportunity came back to me to say, well, Mike, we need your help in serving this community. We needed people from the community to help renovate this affordable housing complex. Two of my sisters have lived in this complex. My niece presently lives in this complex. Affordable housing is a critical and important piece of a community. It is a critical piece because people don't have as much as some others, but it does not determine whether or not they should have a safe environment or whether they have access to good schools and whether they have a, crime-free area. It's not dictated by how much you have or don't have. This work that we're doing has given us an opportunity to be involved in a community that's ours. And so we have a voice and we have some vision of how we like to see things happen, and so we're glad to be a part of it.
The importance of knowing where you're living, where you're coming from, it's very important to know that stuff because it gives you direction on where you're going to go in life. Like if you don't know where you at, you ain't gonna know where you want to go. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's called the Black Bottom. During the Renaissance period, when African Americans migrated from the south to the north, Mantua was the first suburb of Philadelphia, and it was where a lot of African Americans lived at the time, and it was just called the Black Bottom. It's also the bottom part of West Philly. If you think about it, we're talking about 41st Street down to 31st Street, so that's why we call it the bottom.
I think being though nowadays we have less opportunities to be involved in something, it's like now you're seeing more people on these corners and more people being locked up, more people being shot. And it's because it's like it's nowhere for them to go for real down here, like to get away from everything that's going on out there where they don't want to be at.
The Bottom is the name of the neighborhood, Mantua in West Philadelphia. The For is just, it could be for community, it could be for the love of it, it could be for change. You know, our purpose is to continue to do positive things in the community.
I think that most of the youth, well, a lot of the youth is very misunderstood. Like, they're very perceived as dangerous, they're perceived as a threat, they're perceived as nothing but just plain trouble, and that's not really true. I think a lot of the challenges that the youth face is because they don't know how to get help, they don't know where to get help, they don't know, they may not even know what kind of help that they need, and that's why DB4 is here, because we can point them in the right direction to help with those challenges.
DB4 was involved in creating a youth leadership council for the transformation plan, which awarded us the Promise Zone. One of our biggest projects is a program that we started called Mantua in Action, where we partnered up with different entities and organizations and institutions to provide free summer camps for youth, over 170 youth, where they could come do things like squash sports, tennis, fencing, just new sports that they're normally not exposed to in the community. Our other program is called My Life Creations. It's a program where we teach youth how to express themselves through art.
These streets ain't loyal, it's hard to be royal. Those got coke and they tryna employ you. Yeah, we back with a bang, got ladies on the track and she doing her thing. Young Roy's with a team, we not a gang. Got my bros in the back, all ready to tank. Don't slip, make you flip like banana peel, shoestring. All you hear about is how black people shoot things.
Sometimes they don't have those resources in that place to talk. They don't feel comfortable. They're not used to it. They're not used to talking to somebody about how they feel. They're very guarded. And DB4 is just a place where they can go and do that, and they're not going to be judged.
We tryna be royal. What are we? Young royal. What are we? Young royal.
People's Emergency Center is actually a community nonprofit. It was started first as a women's and children's shelter about 40 years ago. And then about 15 years ago, it started something called a CDC, which is a Community Development Corporation. We provide the food cupboard and clothing and job training and things like that to really help people to be able to transition and get on their feet. The neighborhood is changing. It's a lot of community meetings going on. Of course, it's a lot of attention with this Promise Zone designation. So, because it needed some excitement, something to make people aware, to get people to engage, to interact again. We have not really done a great job in cultivating young leadership so that they can keep things moving and growing and new ideas and opportunities can come in. So I'm hoping that can, start to change in our communities to make us thrive a bit more. So we have an awesome group of young people. It's called the Community Connectors Outreach Program. We've grown the program to 6 young people to now we have 17. They are in high school and college, and some have graduated. And what they do is they do all our outreach and community engagement. And so I try to make sure that they become leaders and they're involved in organizing and have access to other opportunities.
So basically, like, the name practically stands for itself, connecting with the community, and like we're like the people that get hands-on, face-to-face contact with community members and learn about actual realistic stuff that's going on, the problems and the conflicts in the community. So we're just here to learn, survey, and figure out ways to better community using the resources that we have here at the People's Emergency Center.
Like, we go to certain homes to give out packets of information and they pass out to their neighborhood. But they keep coming back and back. That just shows how much people in the community really want to be having information.
And I think we started out with how many? It was like 10? 10. And now we're at 150. Yeah. And these are all volunteers that just came out and said, hey, I want to help spread the information throughout our communities.
When we was on, we made a message board on 42nd and a half, Lancaster. A couple people came up like, we like seeing you doing this, gave us cards, like, you come here and work with us, or you come teach us this. I think anytime we do any outreach, there's always somebody that's going to say something to us. Like, you should be doing this too, or can you get this flyer to your boss so we can spread it out? Like, there's always somebody talking to us.
When we go out and survey the community, we get a lot of feedback. Like, we want things that are for youth, like youth programs and youth activities and stuff, just to get people off the street.
It just changed me, period. At first, I didn't really care about a lot of stuff. High school, I was acting a fool. I didn't really care about grades, whatever. But soon I came here, like Miss Cass turned me out. Like she told me, like school. I got the big picture. School is where you get the money, whatever, and make you feel good. But also helping the community, that can give you that equal amount, that health, or that wealth, whatever, and that feel goodness. That's all I say. I rock with it. I left with it like that.
I had stopped going to school. You know, I wanted to be involved in the street. There's not no particular reason, it's just more so being a follower. That's just getting by. I want to make it, you know?
One thing I can relate to that people struggle with is like they're afraid to be smart because they think their friends are gonna talk about them. So like they decide to like not go to school or cut class. People think that if they're smart, they won't be accepted.
The other day my friend told me, he said, these streets don't love you. There's nothing out here for you. You need to come back to school. I wasn't gonna listen, but in my head I had to realize what he was saying, like, there's really nothing out here. It's a bunch of drugs, negativity. Not just for so drugs, it's like a whole bunch of negativity mixed up in one.
Out of five brothers, I'll be the second one going to college. If I stay in school, when I have kids out, they won't have to go through what I went through.
But I'm willing to make adjustments to better myself and further my education. In order to succeed and do the things that I want to do in life, to have anything I want, I need to have a diploma and a scholarship to college. Getting a high school diploma and going to college, you're getting a degree. You can determine where you go and determine anything you want to do in life.
Well, you know, I think education is a vehicle for a lot of people to get involved in things that they might not have an opportunity to do if they didn't have those credentials or competencies. I should mention that I grew up in West Philadelphia. I grew up on 46 and Walnut Street, so I actually grew up in this community. Community College of Philadelphia is, as an educational institution, provides an affordable education for students in this area. We have a number of initiatives to introduce high school students to higher education. So we do try to consider that there's a pipeline into higher education, that some students may be the first in their family to consider higher education. So we really do try to make sure that students understand what higher education is about and what kind of opportunities are associated with getting a college degree. We have a very close relationship with West Philadelphia High School, and we have an auto tech program here in West Philadelphia, which we don't have in any of the other sites for Community College of Philadelphia. So we try to keep in mind that there are things that we have available, resources that we have available, opportunities that we have available that we can make sure high school students are aware of, and to get high school students on this campus or other campuses.
About 10 years, about 10 years, since he's been a little baby. Now he's a big guy doing marvelous things. I'm so proud of him. You know, the program that he's involved in has really brought the best out of him, you know, because he had it in him all along. He just needed some motivation and direction. You know, that's why he was an A and B student. I'm proud of this man. You know, he's setting the pace. You know, to let everybody know that we have good young men in Philadelphia. That's what it's all about, the children. You know, making sure they have a place in life. And then when we get old, they'll be able to take care of us. You know, put them in position to help us out later on because we're going to need some help. I've been barbering for 40 years. It's a family tradition. My father's a barber. My brother's a barber. My uncle's a barber. And, you know, it was in my blood, if you want to, you know, so to speak. This is what I've seen all my life. I've lived good through what my father did, and that was barbering. You know, because I see a lot of young men coming here wanting jobs. me and Mr. Bilal, we wish we had more opportunity for them. We have a small shop that's vibrant. We try to do what we can, but we have more stuff to hand to the youth. They'd be so much better. One positive thing though, I see a lot of young men and women trying to do good things as you guys are. I'm happy to see that. It's not all negative. You know, you're not running around being, you know, underhanded or outlandish, because if you were, you wouldn't be here. So that's to say something positive about this area. It's not all negative. It's just that the real estate thing is really pushing its way through the neighborhood, and we have to be mindful of that and look out for, say, Miss Mary Jane or Mr. Henry, who can't afford to pay his taxes, and they're talking about pushing him out, putting a condo in. Is there programs that he could be involved in to save probably his family heritage?
Promise Zone is taking a 7-block strip that has houses, businesses that have been here for years and years and years upon years, that they're so accustomed to. Even though they know that they're bringing supermarkets and other businesses, they don't want they don't want the change. They're not ready for the change.
I mean, it's a win-lose situation sometimes. I mean, you got homeowners, people who rent, people who own businesses that have stake in the neighborhood, and because of eminent domain, at the end of the day, the law states that if this is more important, you gotta move. So I think it's impacting the community, since it's actually showing that the community doesn't have that much ownership and that much leverage to really make a decision on what type of development, at the end of the day, what really happens.
I think community ownership at all different levels is important. It is about owning your home and being able to pass it down to your children or having that kind of security, but it's also about owning the ideas and the vision for what you want your community to be. And this part of West Philly, frankly, has done that for a long time. This community has always held on and said, we're proud of this area, we want to stay here, we want to fight to make it better and not be forced out by high prices. We're continuing to work to make sure that the vision for the Promise Zone is honest to that and that we can be held accountable for that. There are outside forces that push that we're not always successful in wholly stopping, but I think we're pretty conscious of that. And there's been planning work going on around coordinating the programs that do exist to help people preserve their housings. And there's also been planning around something called equitable development. And equitable development means development isn't necessarily bad, because you can develop a park for people to use, or a greenway, or a new school, or a supermarket where people can get healthy food, but you want it to be equitable or fair. So it's fair to everybody and everybody can access those benefits.
We got to realize, when we say it's our community, what do you really own? Do you own your sentimental value, your history? That's nice, but we need to own land too. We need to own businesses too. We need to, when we say it's ours, we need to have tangible things that show it's ours, because these people who invest in these developments that impact the community and its culture are people, they don't see your history, they don't care about your sentimental value, they care about what they care about. So I think one of the things that residents need to do and why they need to be involved is start to understand what's the difference and how they need both sides. They need the culture, they need the history, but they also need the education and knowledge on how to invest into their community, whether it's development or just giving back.
10 years from now, I see me probably driving through here, probably not knowing pretty much anybody. I think this area will eventually get completely taken over by like the Drexel students and the Powhatan Village people moving more like further this way, like further north. And it's like, there's nothing that we're gonna do about it, like as the metro community, which is the sad part.
Drexel, like a lot of universities, has kind of in the past not really been a good neighbor. And neighbors of the university have kind of rightfully been distrustful and nervous. And the Dornsife Center is about changing the tone of that relationship. So we are offering a way for residents and the university to work together on creative projects, on projects where everybody's got shared values around health, around safety, around employment access. We have programs like our Key Spot, the computer lab, where any resident can come and get help working on a resume, doing a job application, a job search, career counseling. So we have had a direct impact on helping people get jobs. This federal designation has spurred organizations to kind of come together and start to define some common goals for the neighborhood. The Dornsife Center is a place where some of that, the Promise Zone planning activity and programming can happen.
Our challenge is, how do we create a vehicle for resident participation in the Promise Zone? Because the people who live in Promise Zone neighborhoods, for the most part, are going to be living there after the Promise Zone designation is over with. And so those are the people who can really maintain that level of change that's occurred, hopefully, over the 10-year period.
That change in 10 years is going to be most likely the people who do vote, the people who do have resources, the people that do come out. And you can't point the finger at nobody at this point because we have the opportunity. And it starts here with stuff like this. You can't look down on small beginnings because it starts on a grassroots level to let people know. So in 10 years, I mean, I personally feel like it can go either way. It takes a person to make a change. It takes one of us to actually go out here and do a movement.
And we as the people in this area here, we have a lot of chances to regroup, to get educated, to get some training, to have stores come to the neighborhood that make our neighborhood flourish and grow. So I can see some positive, but we have to remain together as a group. And when they have these meetings talking about the neighborhood that we live in, we need to be there so that we can represent and let them know this is what we want.
If you live here, then it's about you, and you set the tone. So if you're engaged and involved, then it'll make someone else be engaged and involved. And if you care, then other people will be inclined to care. But if you don't act like you care, why should anyone else care? So the only way we can do that is to be involved and advocate for ourselves from the inside out, opposed from the outside in.
And when I was growing up on Folsom Street, you would see the young ladies play double dutch. Some girls jump right in, but then there's some girls that are scared of the rope. They could spend the whole 30 minutes that they got outside before the mom calls them in, and they just do this all day long, right? So you gotta get involved. You gotta engage life.
The race off.
When you walk out the door.
Okay. How you doing, Mr. Mayor?
I'm okay. How are you?
How is the Promise Zone affecting lives of our residents?
Well, the Promise Zone is an opportunity for us to put more resources into the particular neighborhood, generally known as Mantua in West Philadelphia. The opportunity to upgrade programs and services, create jobs and economic vitality, and to partner with, at least out in that section, Drexel University is one of our partners, Mount Vernon Manor, LISC, which is a financial services organization, People's Emergency Center, all of us working in partnership and with the community. I have tremendous hope and optimism about what will eventually come out of the Promise Zone. We just need to stay focused.
Being a leader is having power. You know what I'm saying? Going to school, influencing others to go to school, influencing others to do good in life, and having power amongst ourselves.
A lot of older community members made some bad decisions and they are where they are now. Then you have some community leaders who actually did something, made the right decision, and they're where they want to be.
I was thinking of a saying that You can take the boy out the hood, but you can't take the like, that's just what you were born into. It's who you, like, you can't change that. But you can better yourself, become a different person or whatever, like, just how you perceive yourself.
I hear adults all the time say, youth want this and youth want that, and there's not enough of this and there's not enough of that, but no one ever talks to you. Okay, and so engagement of young people living in the promise zone to understand what their needs and wants are, and kind of where do you see yourself in 10 years?
A bunch of people would have a meeting, or my community would have a meeting, and our young people wasn't involved in it, then you would barely see a change.
I believe young people should have their voice heard, because if they don't say anything, things are going to be done for them instead of them doing it themselves.
What does the quote, "the place where you are born does not determine your destiny," mean to you?
That quote actually means you were born in West Philadelphia, and you got to expand your mind, further your education, go out and travel and see the world, go live above and beyond, try stuff and do stuff you never heard or seen. That quote actually is motivation.